I move to come out of executive session, and the time is now 7:10. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Yes. For the record, 3 trustees for myself, Julie Donnan, as well as our administrator, Nita Hanson, was in executive session. Okay. Resolution 23. Well, I guess we won't do the resolution now. We'll go ahead and have Mr. Hodge come up and make his presentation.
Good evening, members of the board. David Hodge, attorney with the law firm Underhill and Hodge, representing the Oxford Circle Development in tandem with the Langle family farm up on the east side of 310. As the evening has progressed and as the board was in executive session, I've had the occasion to talk to several folks here who had some questions about exactly what's happening with the park. So I'll give a little background there. Back at the end of 2020, there was an agreement in place for the eastern 20 or so acres of the Langle farm to transfer over to Etna Township. There were some conditions in that purchase and sale agreement associated with the ability of the front half of the Langle farm to develop. 3 years ago, and for 3 years I had been trying a little bit every day to work through the Licking County process to bring this development to fruition. As I stand here today, we have approved construction plans. We are very close to having building permits, and we have to have a water PTI issued by the OEPA in order to finalize and get through our development agreement with the Southwest Licking Community Water and Sewer District. So people may, a lot of people said, gosh, what's taking so long? What's the mystery? And it's just hard to do development work in the unincorporated portions of Licking County, to the point that it has been just about the most frustrating experience of my 20 plus years or so being exclusively a zoning and land use lawyer in Central Ohio. But we're there, approved construction plans and ready to go. So part of what we've asked the board to do, the existing purchase and sale agreement for the parkland is set to expire at the end of this year. We have asked the board to extend that agreement out to the beginning of June of next year. It is our expectation that the closing will happen before March the 1st, an outside date of March the 1st. We think that the closing will happen. When that closing happens, my client, Oxford Circle, will own the front portion of the Langle farm, and the people of Etna Township will own the east portion of the Langle farm, which is the last remaining piece to the overall park assemblage here in the township. Before I go on and talk about the remainder, I should have said this in the beginning. Typically, when I've been here in the past on this development, I have the Langle family with me. Many of you probably know Mr. Langle's been ill recently. Otherwise, Mr. Langle would be here, and his wife Barbara as well. She's at home caring for Bill. Matt was going to come with me tonight, Matt Langle, but he had Cub Scouts to go to with his son. I told him that was far more important to go do than to come have me, watch me, talk about business. So that's the first portion. Any questions from the board related to the PSA and the parkland transfer? I'll do my best to answer them.
I do have a question. The two conditions, it's the, I thought it was the approved building plans was one, correct? Has that been met with those plans being approved?
Mr. Evans, I did not read the conditions of the PSA. There are several conditions. To me, it's in general having full permits, and so that's full permits. That's everything. That's the ability to put a shovel in the ground. Okay. We've had a pre-con meeting. We do have approved construction plans. There are a couple little wrinkles to iron out with the actual building permits with the building department. And as I mentioned, we've got to finalize things with the Southwest Lincoln Community Water and Sewer District, because that was also a condition.
And then the other condition, there was the two, the building permits and plans and all that, and then the sewer service. So are you saying the sewer service condition would be met as soon as you get a water development agreement?
The first portion of this is issuance of a water permit to install by the Ohio EPA. So once we have that water permit to install, we then engage directly with the Southwest Lincoln Community Water and Sewer District. Trust me when I tell you, this is as convoluted a process as I've ever seen in my life. But we have to have all those things before we can engage directly with the Southwest Lincoln Community Water and Sewer District on the development agreement.
But what I'm trying to get at is, what is that finish line? Because it seems like every time it's inquired about, it's very hazy. It's very, there's got to be a definitive thing. So is it the development agreement, or is it
both? Development agreement with the sewer district, issuance of building permits with the county.
Okay, so development agreement and permits.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
and we're asking. Look, things happen. Obviously, they've been happening for the last 3 years. We put an outside date on here, June 1st. It's my expectation that it happens no later than March 1st, but hopefully by the end of next month. That's our goal. I hate to even be here tonight asking the question, trust me. I wish that people were in there putting in cabinets and hanging drywall, but we're not there.
Well, like I said, as a resident asked about when are we going to be able to plan? When are we going to? Because right now it's up in the air. So.
Yep, absolutely, and I spoke to the resident while you were in executive session and brought him up to speed to the extent that I was able to, and it ought to be noted here that the park's already paid for. Etna Township has already paid for that park. That money is sitting in escrow. As soon as these conditions are met, then that money will drop down and the property will get purchased. And, Etna Township's getting that property for a song. They're getting it for way below the market value of the property as a benefit from, not just the Langle family, but also my client, Oxford Circle Development. It's getting transferred, for under $17,000 an acre. And
16.
Yeah, and you've all seen what properties are going for here in all of Lincoln County. Any other questions?
Not on that.
Okay. Okay, so the next portion of this is an amendment to the TIF agreement. In 2020, there were several TIFs that got created out along 310. There's the property that now has the sheets on it. There's the old Eagle HVAC property. There's the Langle property, and there is the property north of Langle that's owned by JBW. A portion of that is in a TIF. So in the TIF, the projections in the TIF, and projections are always done very conservatively by developers. You wanna not overestimate what the reimbursement is going to be. We think that those TIFs are going to send back somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 million conservatively, and the way they're set up is that gets reimbursed over a 10-year term. What we have asked for is, and this gets to be into some finance things, and I'm no finance guy by any stretch of the imagination, but what this TIF amendment allows a developer to do is to bond those improvements, to go out and take on investors, whether that's a bank or someone else, and get that money from those investors up front, and then those investors would get paid back out of the TIF 10 years. So that's essentially what this TIF amendment is asking the township to do. Now, people might ask, what about the money that comes back to Etna Township? And with a TIF, there's a finite amount of money. There's a finite amount of money that's going to come into that TIF. Let's, for the sake of this conversation, say that the TIF is going to generate $6 million. If the public infrastructure out here costs $3.5 million, then the $2.5 million, the remainder is going to come back to Etna Township. No matter what, no matter whether we live under the TIF agreement as it presently exists, or whether we live under the TIF amendment that is being proposed tonight. I'm not the author of this TIF amendment. There are guys that specialize in this in law, in big law firms downtown. They wrote this. I know it's been reviewed by your legal counsel, and it's a mechanism where Oxford Circle Development does not have to come up with $4 million right off the bat, in addition to the purchase price and the quasi-donation of the parkland to go commence this construction. And there's a lot of public infrastructure going on here. There's the relief sewer that's happening. Sheets has a temporary solution. They're going to tie into that relief sewer. Our client will tie into the relief sewer. This opens up capacity for the JBW property to the north. So lots going on with this. I'm probably talking too much, so I'll stop there and see if there are questions. Hopefully I've done an adequate job explaining it.
I did have a question based on, you said 4 to 5 million, if you go 4.7 million, based on the original agreement, you'd be limited to 3.8 million. With the 75% first 5 years, and then assuming 90%, you're not probably going to go down because your estimated costs are much higher. So with that, the township would have got 1.1 million. So what you're basically asking is for us to kind of give that up as additional incentive for you, and that's where I'm kind of maybe a little concerned about, because the original, most of the time you have tips and any kind of those agreements, they come with JEDs, they come in. This was just a giveaway again after the last election 2 years ago of 5 tips, 75 to 90%, 80% for High Point for Sabatinos and that. So we're giving up estimated 1.1 million here.
Oh, well, there's a lot there in what you just now said, and I'm not going to agree with everything that you said. But I'll do my best to answer the question that you raised. And I believe that the existing TIF agreement states definitively that regardless of the upfront splits with 65-95, that TIF agreement definitively says that the developer is going to get repaid in full for the public infrastructure improvements. So that doesn't change.
But you're limited to 75 to 90, and after those 10 years, that's it. So during that first 5 years, we get 25. During that second 5 years, if you're maxing out, we get 10. And based on your figures, that would be 1.1 million.
Well,
now, if you exceed that, we'd get more, and but the revenue that was coming to us is no longer there.
Well, that's why I said what I said at the beginning, and that is this: that there's a finite amount of money in this TIF. There's a finite amount of money. The developer is going to get reimbursed for the public infrastructure that they're installing, and we can talk about what all that public infrastructure is. Out of that finite amount of money, the remainder of the money is going to be coming back to Etna Township, and under either scenario, the statement I just made is true.
Correct, but only if you meet that. And then my other question is on the B2, you have your costs there, but in B1 it lists additional items that are reimbursed. Is it your understanding that you are limited to the B2? You cannot, if there's even more funds coming in, you can't then expand it into B1.
Under the TIF, we have to come in and provide actual cost certifications for what the public infrastructure costs. We're not getting reimbursed for anything that's not public infrastructure. So we got to provide those actual cost certifications and then get reimbursed for that.
Right, but what I'm saying, are you limiting that to the B2, which is a specific list of items, or like B1 is park benches? It really expands.
B2 is the public infrastructure, as I understand it.
B1's the statutory description, which lists everything. B2 is your actual road, sewer, this with the actual cost.
Yeah. So are we limiting to that? I mean, those are our estimates. Those are our estimates. We, Mr. Evans, have been very conservative in those estimates. So based upon the bidding work that's been done to date, those are on the
Right,
we're gonna beat that estimate.
I understand that, and in the contract, it'll be limited to a specific amount, but what I'm saying is, if,
We're gonna ask for reimbursement. The answer is we're gonna ask for reimbursement for everything legally permitted to be reimbursed under the TIF statute.
okay, so you'd be looking at all the other stuff too.
Anything that's any
Trees, shrubs, plants. My concern is that it's everything but the building. Sidewalks, parking lots.
depends upon whether or not it's public infrastructure. Like internal sidewalks to the residential hotel, we can't. I don't think that the TIF statute extends to that. So it's anything in the public right of way, public infrastructure, as that term is defined in the statute.
Well, if we do parking lots or sidewalks, but I think we're getting into the minutia. But my concern is that we gave up 3.8 million 2 years ago, and now you're asking for that other 1.1 without any extra benefit to us.
Yeah, I think it's a finite amount of money in the TIF. The original TIF agreement talked about reimbursement of the developer in full for infrastructure, and so with reference to that, nothing changes. The public infrastructure gets reimbursed to the developer, the remainder goes to the township.
But you were limited by that 75 and 90 though. This is not limited. That's what I'm saying. We're giving up revenue.
I don't think that you are. If let's say the public infrastructure exceeded the amount of money in the TIF, which it's not going to do, then I get your point. But we're going to be the public infrastructure here is going to be beneath the amount of money generated by the TIF.
But you can't say that because
the bidding we've done so far, we're taking a calculated risk here, Mr. Evans, as you do in business, but our bidding so far demonstrates that we're going to be below the revenue generated by the TIF significantly. We've been very conservative in our TIF estimates, both on the value of the residential hotel and on the commercial outlots out along 310.
But if it's going to outperform, why would you need to change the percentage to 100%?
Because lots and lots of things have changed in the last 3 years in terms of interest rates and where things are. And so this helps the developer execute the project. He can go out and take on investors to fund the public infrastructure up front, as opposed to waiting to get reimbursed out of the TIF over a 10-year term.
And my other question is, if we do this, again, we're not getting anything back. We've got the contract with Mark, and if the conditions are there, it should be honored in that. But are you open to a JED on this property?
I have been talking about doing a JED on this property for 3 years. I have been talking about facilitating a discussion. I did not represent Skilkin Gold Sheets on the store here, but I represented that group on lots of the other stores. I've discussed openly facilitation of a discussion between Etna Township and Sheets to put that into a JED. Sheets did a JED in Orange. Sheets did a JED over in Prairie, over by the casino. And so they are open to it, they're receptive to it, and it's something that they've done in other places.
But for them to do it, they want something more. They want to extend it, correct? Or they'll just enter a JED right now.
I believe they will. I mean, I can't speak for them. I'm not their lawyer on this case, but we will, without a doubt, allow the property to go into a JED for these commercial outlots. And I think these are going to be viable commercial outlots.
Could that be made part of this and contingent on with this TIF agreement?
Please.
Oh, yeah?
Please. Absolutely. The answer is yes.
We didn't know that.
I work with Roche Johnson and Griggs on the Prairie Township Sheets JED. And Orange both. Right.
So
the answer is yes, Mr. Evans.
And one question is, the renewal of the purchase contract, is that tied to approval of this TIF, or, because I almost feel like we're being held hostage that if you guys don't do this, you're going to cancel that, and we're not going to have connecting parcels on the park, and
it's not.
Is that contingent?
It's not. It's not contingent. I think that I am in here asking that we continue to work in as collaborative a manner as we possibly can, and to see this long-term project through. And, you know, are we giving a little something to Etna Township? The answer is yes. Are we asking Etna Township to give a little bit to us? The answer is yes. You know, 16.9 for this park is a song, and people may not want to hear this next part, but, you know, the Newark Advocate has run articles recently. I know that Licking County's been actively involved. I read a statement over the weekend that blew my mind, and I've heard this in other contexts before, but for some reason this really resonated with me. 500,000 people in the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough housing for people now. So we've all got to work together across, you know, multiple jurisdictions to see this through. And so I guess that's a long way to say no. It's not conditioned, but we are demonstrating that we're working in good faith with you, and we would love to see and appreciate some reciprocity there.
Okay. Well, I wish I reached out to you and asked to discuss this, and I never heard from you.
I didn't know that you reached out to me to discuss this.
But
I promise you, Mr. Evans, I did not know that you reached out to me to discuss
but
this.
And just to let you know, this was provided to me 5 p.m. I had no clue this was coming, so that's why I've got a lot of questions.
And I'm happy to answer your questions. Okay. They're good ones.
But I just like to say one thing. 16.9 per acre is a good price, but on the flip side, you got 3.8 million approximately on that first tip. So it's not like there was nothing. And between this property and Sheets, the school funding was, I think, 3.4 million over 10 years that was diverted from the school. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and that's why I don't think we should rush into anything. But what I would like to see is maybe for Julie or Peter to kind of work through some JED of tying it to this, because I don't think we should pass it without some assurance that there's going to be a JED to at least ensure that there's some revenue coming in for future expenses. But I'd then like to see us pass tonight the extension of the contract, so that's not being held over our head, but we'll move forward on this as we should.
I'm so, you know, I've been at this type of work for a long time, and I think I've earned a reputation of trust in the multiple jurisdictions where I work. And now you're kind of giving me a stink eye over that, Mr. Evans.
Hey, he's some hogs.
But that is absolutely the truth. When people see me coming, they know that they're dealing with somebody that's going to shoot them straight and that they can work with. And the same is true here. When I speak, a lot of times when I come out and do these presentations, I'm obligated to take an oath, to swear to tell the truth, which I gladly do. I want to come back and do more business in Etna Township over your remaining term. I don't know whether you're going to run again, but if you do, I expect to be standing at this lectern again on a future development case. I intend to be before Ms. McKee while she's a trustee, and I intend to be before Mr. Burkholder when he's a trustee. If I stand up here tonight and I tell a lie, when I walk in the door, you're going to tell me to leave. I don't lie when I stand here. I just stood here and told you that we are willing to enter into the JED. I also said that I've been saying that for about 3 years now. And that I would facilitate the JED with the Sheets. So I'm going to ask the board to vote. Mark my words, call me tomorrow. I'll be in here with Brocious, Johnson, and Griggs and my client, Oxford Circle Development, asking how we can help you facilitate that JED. Okay,
the other JED, when it was discussed, it was contingent on a 10-year extension of this tip, making it a 20-year. So that's what I'm saying of, I don't think there should be more giveaways, more, I mean, you know, most people when they build a house, nobody's paying for their driveway, their sidewalks, their landscaping, their all this stuff, but we're doing it for developers. And this is a hot area, and we shouldn't have to incentivize everything so much. We've got a lot of future liabilities and declining revenues. Amazon went from 1.2 million to estimated 900,000 next year. Their abatements up in 6 years. They could go away. And that's what I'm concerned about this revenue. So maybe if we look at JED, the projection, but I mean, when I asked you if you'd be willing to extend that contract, it wasn't a yes and wasn't a no. I mean, that we could take care of that right now, but it seems like
extend what contract?
The purchase contract. Can we do that tonight?
I'd like to do both tonight.
Well, we can't do both because if we have to work on the JED, inclusion.
I'm asking the board, if you want to, include a condition that that Oxford Circle Development work cooperatively with Etna Township towards implementation of a JED along its commercial out parcels. By all means, include that in the resolution. I guess the reason I made the speech about I'm a trustworthy guy is that I'm in some ways asking you to take me at my word, which you can do. So I'm asking the board to vote on both resolutions tonight, Mr. Evans.
I don't think that, I mean, number one, this was just given to me, like I said, yesterday at 5 p.m. I think I need to do more due diligence. There's a lot of questions, and two, I think it's proper. It was just brought up about the JED, so I think our legal team's got to do it. We can't just throw it in a resolution and pie in the sky and say, okay, do it. How's it enforced? How is it? Because in this TIF agreement, it says it will not be amended to that, so if the JED doesn't come to fruition, is there any recourse? Is there any? That's the thing. You can't just go by trust alone. I mean, this isn't our money. If it was our company, I could say, yeah, maybe we could trust you, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents of this township.
You do, and if I thought in 30 days we could get something done that I've been talking about for 3 years, I would trust you back. But I've been talking about it for 3 years. I'm telling you that my client is willing to do the JED. We were willing to do the JED 3 years ago, and I'll help facilitate the others. And you can call me tomorrow. You can call me tomorrow, and I'll be in here no later than the end of the week next Friday.
I wish I would have got this stuff much sooner.
I do too, and there's a constant evolution of politics, and maybe things will change, but I can't be held accountable for that. We've got a project we've been working vigorously over the course of the last 3 years to bring to fruition, and we are just about to open the door and walk through it, and I'm here tonight to ask you to help me make sure that happens.
Okay. Well, I think we can get that for. We can do it quickly, but
well, at least we can do the resolution to actually extend the purchase contract for the label for the deadline, which you said expires at the end of this month, December. We can extend it till June 1st. Is that what we want to?
I'd be for that.
Okay. So I would like to present resolution 23-12-0501, authorizing the third amendment of the real estate purchase contract with the Langle family to extend to the deadline of purchase contract to June 1st, 2024, as presented, which is there in you guys' packet. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call, Ms. Berry.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And I guess that'll be up to your side then to also sign that, but I'll get with you tomorrow, but I think we could move quickly to get information and then make a decision on the.
I'm asking you to vote on the other resolution.
I don't think that would be proper tonight. I don't know, it's up to Ms. McKee. Especially with the inclusion of JED. I don't know what your thoughts are, Julie, if Peter should be. I'm just concerned about how do you enforce it, or how do you, and would inclusion in the, I'm sorry, Ms. McKee, is it okay that I ask him questions? I don't want to take the floor. Okay. Is it something that you can't have any provisions in the TIF agreement that the bank would kind of frown on for your bond financing, or could it be incorporated in that? Or do you have to ask those downtown?
I'm personally happy to have it incorporated. There's not my area of the law. It's not my area of expertise.
Well, would that mess with the bond?
Mr. Evans, for us to, how long is it going to take for us to work through that JED thing? I mean, what else can I do? I don't know how long that's going to take. We've got to go on this deal.
I think it could be pretty quick.
In order to buy this Langle property, in order to do the deal, we've got to finalize and secure our financing, and this component is a critical part of that.
Well, I don't think that we need assurances such as like yours with getting the development agreement, of setting it up, of getting the partners of ensuring that your client would do everything necessary to enter that JED once we get a partner, once we get, this wouldn't be anything where there'd be any BIA return for any infrastructure, because that's already in the TIF. So I think it would be a straight setup, and, you know, I think Julie would be able to handle that with Peter pretty quickly on the details.
Yeah, but we would have to have a public meeting with that, correct? Am I correct with that?
Correct. So I think a couple of things, and I thought that Nina and I were just discussing in terms of process. I think there are a couple of ways of, in just having an understanding. I think what Mr. Hodge is saying is that they're willing to give that covenant and that they will join a JED. We have worked with developers in townships where that's the key that we need, allow them to continue on with other items, and not necessarily have the JED contract in place, all of those business decisions that you just talked about, Trustee Evans. So that, because obviously that would take a very long time, or potentially long time.
I'm just looking for enforcement.
Okay.
And should this TIF agreement be modified then?
So
To include that in the agreement? Because the TIF agreement says it cannot be modified, so anything we need to has to be in it, right?
So I think a few things there. You could, as Mr. Hodge said, the board could include a condition in the resolution. You could also require that that specific language be in the TIF amendment itself.
My question is what language would be required, and that's needs to be, I don't think we can do this on the fly.
Sure.
And as far as including the resolution, the TIF agreement says this is the only controlling authority, so even in the resolution, this is controlling. I'm not saying that they won't go through with it, but you need to be able to back it up.
In terms of language, I think it would be very simple. It's not something that would take, I think it wouldn't take particularly long. It's not particularly magical.
So the next meeting?
Yes.
The 19th?
I would assume so.
I think within 2 weeks, especially for me, I can have all my answers, questions answered. We can get the language and make a proper decision and bring it back in 2 weeks. Does that meet?
I can't be here on the 19th. I gotta be at another one of our.
Well, I think at that point, our council all our questions would be to our council, not you. As long as they're satisfied with those provisions, maybe we can move forward. And I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and like I said, any questions I've got, or, again, I got this 25 hours ago.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Mr. Evans, and maybe it's improper for me to do so. Are you saying here tonight that as long as we consent to some language being added to this TIF agreement, that we will cooperate and enter into the JED, that you are a yes vote on the amendment to the TIF?
Until I need to review everything, but I'm open to it. It's not a hard no. It's not, but like I said, I need to do my due diligence. I just got this. This is complicated. Even you said yourself, you're an attorney. You didn't draft this up. You had others.
Correct.
So you can't expect me within 25 hours to be able to soak this in and say, all right, go.
You're unwilling to take me at my word, and you're asking me to take you at your word, and you're elected, so that's that.
If it was my company, I do that all the time. But I have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents of this township. And all I'm asking for 2 weeks. I think we could have it done.
What's the pleasure of the board to just wait until the next week?
I guess I request that the board consider tabling action on the resolution related to the amendment to the TIF agreement.
Tabling to a date uncertain.
The date certain.
Yeah.
Well, by the 19th.
Well,
In advance of December 31st of 2023 is all I care about.
maybe, yeah. Well, we'll see.
Has to be in advance of December 31st, 2023. Has to happen this year.
Okay.
We're trying to buy this property.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I would like to turn the meeting over to our administrator, Ms. Anita Hanson.
Would you need to stay, or would you? Oh, we're done. Okay. All right, I will, we'll get it updated.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Madam President, may I go?
Yes, ma'am.
an amazing Thanksgiving celebration. It's good to be here again tonight. I wanted to address one of the questions that came up in the public comments about the ability of Rollinsford to annex. There's already an agreement, it's in writing, that prevents Rollinsford from annexing any more of the township except for two little pieces that are already part of the annexation agreement. So there should not be a legitimate concern that all of the township or big parts of the township could be annexed to Rollinsford. The West Licking CIC, the West Licking Development CIC Board will meet tomorrow, December the 6th at 1 p.m. In terms of a report related to the water and sewer district, Trent Stepp's complete report was sent or provided to each of you. Trent reports that the Waveland facility continues to move forward. A loan application was made to the Ohio Water Development Authority for $85.3 million of financing. And the district has been given conditional approval to begin construction of the facility. Mr. Stepp reports that the Refugee Road widening project was impacted by the AMH contractor keeping the road closed. You may recall that in our last meeting, Mr. Robert told us that the current projection is that Refugee and that Smoke will be opened before Christmas. The work for the Water District project is complete for that road intersection work that's being done. The district has begun construction of the Pataskala Corporate Park Sanitary Sewer Project that will allow the development and building of the area north of the Etna Corporate Park. As a result, there'll be extensive construction along Etna Parkway. The district has recently proposed two projects for what is described as the common good of the community, as well as gestures of regional cooperation and investment. A project is proposed with Kirkersville to bring residents of the village onto the Southwest Licking water system at no cost to the village or the residents. They currently have individual wells, many of which are contaminated. This altruistic gesture is to bring clean, safe, reliable water to the village. A similar project was offered to the village of Alexandria, which included the purchase of Alexandria's wastewater treatment plant. The additional customers will allow the future plant to be able to more quickly reproduce the biologicals required for efficient waste treatment. And if you're wondering how all that works, I don't know. That's someone at Water and Sewer. That's just the report, that having more people reproduce the biologicals required for efficient waste treatment. So, I'm sure you noticed the beautiful holiday decorations that have been put up this week. There are a number of strings of lights that are just not working. And so Mr. Copley and his crew were not able to pinpoint the issue and need to replace the lights on the building and add lights around the remainder of the High Point Park fence. Mr. Copley is going to get after holiday prices for those lights, and we'll talk about them again in January. I was notified today that the vehicle that has been used by Deputy Wolford while we are waiting for our new cruisers to be available needs immediate repair. The estimate from Maverick Motors, which I provided and sent to you, is for $550.30. I'm asking that you approve this expense.
I'll make a motion to approve the Maverick owner for the cruiser expense, $550.30. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I did have a question. I think I asked Ms. Hanson before that this is the loaner car, and there's nothing in the agreement where we should pay for the maintenance, but they've been letting us use that.
That's correct. We've been using it with no charge except for the pass-through cost of the fuel.
Okay.
roll call, please, Ms. Berry.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
We've received a number of applications for the open road crew position. Mr. Copley and I are reviewing them, and he is making the first contact with good candidates. We're hopeful to have a recommendation for filling the position by the next meeting. From the zoning perspective, 8 zoning permits were issued in the month of November for a total of $750. 51 violation letters were mailed, and only 5 violations remain open. The next zoning commission meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, December 12th. CRG expects that Stanley Black & Decker will be the new tenant in its spec building. The BZA met on November 27th for a hearing. The request was for a variance for an accessory that was over the limit. The structure in question was a pool house for an in-ground pool. They also have a detached garage on that property. The parcel is just over 9 acres in an R1 zoned district. The structure will not look out of place with the neighborhood, and that variance was approved. Tree King was granted water and sewer access for its property on US 40, which is that red barn-looking building that's next to Cousins. I received a report today about the Scanal remediation work that's being done required by the county. Scanal has reported to the county as of today that materials and the access agreement with the adjacent landowner are in hand. Surveying for the Campbell Ditch will take place this Friday, December the 8th. I was not provided with a date when installation will actually begin, but I'll let you know as soon as I get that. Okay.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, we'll move over into new business. I move to approve the MORPC, Middle Ohio Regional Planning Commission 2024 annual dues in the amount of $6,394.94. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussions? Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, I will turn the meeting over to Trustee Johnson regarding the comprehensive plan adoption process.
Yeah, there's been some discussion about the process for the adoption of the plan. The people put together the plan itself, voted on it, approved it. It's taken us about a year and a half to do. Finally come through, it's done. So now it's on the zoning commission. So the zoning commission, at that point, they make recommendations to the trustees. So they can have a public hearing on it, they can review it, they can ask for, make recommendations on it. But really, when it comes to us, it's their recommendations on it. And so it's kind of up to them what they want to do with that. When it comes to us, we should have public hearings on it at that point, and if we need to make changes at that point, we can make changes, but we're the final say as trustees. Some people were wondering how that process worked, but that's how it works. As trustees, we can decide where we want to send it back, go back to the commission, have them do it. We can say we're going to make these changes, or we can leave it exactly like it is and approve it. So I don't know if anything else we need to say about that, but that's what the plan is for that.
I don't know if we have the board president here, if you wanted to say
Yeah, do you
something.
want to say anything?
Did you have anything, Ms. Letitia? I know you were the one that called and you were chair, so
Yeah.
would you want to come up to the podium and have a conversation with us? Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Letitia McIntyre, I am the chair for the Etna Zoning Commission. So thank you very much for breaking that down for everyone. Because we did have a question as a commission to see how we were going to move forward. Some of the public was kind of questioning us, so that answered my questions as well as my board. And we look forward to moving forward with this. From what I understand, it's probably going to be in our January meeting that we're going to have this more in discussion, because that's who we're going to have the gentleman come back and everything at that time. So we'll probably know more at that time, but, you know, how we're gonna move forward, but we're going to unitedly make a decision. So,
And the gentleman you're talking about is Jim or Jim
thank you, I
Lennon.
couldn't remember his name. I apologize.
He was actually the consultant we paid to write the plan, that was right.
I think that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can now move over to the Township Hall cleaning contract. I move to approve the contract for New Jane 2 for $300 a month for up to 2 years. Is there a second?
Second,
A discussion, please?
you talked about for up to a year, so that means we
2
can.
years, he's got 2 years.
2 years, so that means
Yeah.
we can, anytime you can, like, if he's not doing what he's supposed to, we can terminate this contract, correct?
You want to speak on that, Ms. Hanson,
Sure.
please?
So the contract as it is written is for a 2-year period of time, which will lock in for the township this cleaning fee of $150 per cleaning twice per month, so $300 a month. So the township gets the benefit of locking that in for the next 2 years. If the functions would not be performed, that would be a breach of the contract, and so we would have all rights available to breach.
And just to be clear, this gentleman is the one that's been working with the township for some years. I think Mrs. Brown is familiar with him.
the floors and carpets since we moved into the.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of experience. He's done it, like you said, the deep cleaning, the woodwork, the windows, the cleaning of the carpet, stripping the floors. And he's had a janitorial supply business for quite a long time. He is licensed and bonded and insured. So we thought he would be somebody that the township could.
It's a very simple contract because usually I think he just works on a handshake. But the prosecutor's office has approved the form of the contract. And again, you know, there was discussion about should there be a provision for cancellation. But by having him locked into that price, and we still have a remedy if he would breach by non-performance, we're still protected, but we're locked in for that price.
Yeah. And I feel comfortable for this fee. I know we were looking at our budget, we're talking about $1,000 a month to clean, for somebody to clean this small place. You know, your bathrooms need to be cleaned weekly. You said you'll do it, okay. But that was in the budget, and I thought, you know, why are we gonna spend that kind of money? And to be honest, she'll tell you, I used to come in and clean the bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
That was what I did, you know, not to say, you know, because it was until we could find somebody.
I know
That
you
we
clean
felt-
them much more often than I have.
Yeah, yes,
So-
that's true. So, but just because we wanted to make sure we got the right person that could do the job at a reasonable amount. So I appreciate it. So I would like to ask the pleasure of the board if we can get a.
I have a discussion on this. I am concerned about the 2 year and without a specific cancellation remedy, it has to be remedied in 30 days. I mean, that's typically standard in contracts. How do you think, how do you suppose that we can cancel it for non-performance? Because the performance
So
is
there's
pretty
no-
limited.
There's no provision for him to be able to cure. So if he's non-performing, he'll be in breach and we can cancel the contract due to breach, as you could with any contract. But
And-
there's no period for him to cure, is what I'm saying.
And,
It's a benefit to us.
and this is cleaning the bathrooms and everything, or no?
Yes,
The bathroom, the kitchen, you know, just basic cleaning, dusting, stuff you do at your house.
carpets,
It
earth
just,
vacuum.
it doesn't say, it says clean the kitchenette. Does it say clean the restrooms in here? Anywhere? Okay, clean, sanitize, and stock the restroom.
Yes, okay, I was gonna say, I don't have it right, I think I have it near my stack, but I
Okay,
was certain it was on the list.
Roll
okay,
call, Ms. Varian, please.
Mr. Evans?
no.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, so I move resolution 2312 I think that would be 3. Nope, I'm sorry, let me go back. Yeah, we go 2, that's right. Appointing Township Attorney Brochus, Johnson, and Griggs on the annual basis for the year of 2024 for the sum of $35,000 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, please.
Now, this is just up to 35,000, but the board has to approve the work, correct?
Well, it's like a blanket, how we put it out there before.
Right,
That's,
it's
yeah, yes.
Up to, but the board, okay.
Okay, yeah. Roll call, Ms. Berry?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's not on there. Oh, did you? I'm sorry. I didn't know you, yeah. There was a change that came down from House Bill yesterday evening. So we had already had the agenda, today. And we weren't sure, so we are going to wait and move that to the next meeting. So, do you have anything to say on that one?
Well, I mean, I'm
I know you talked
happy to address
directly
it, yes. So the state legislature is moving very quickly to address some of the issues that are pending related to issue 2 and the legalized use of adult marijuana. There is a House bill that is in the works, that there's testimony being done, and they're cramming it through. I don't mean that in a negative way, but they're cramming it through so that it will become effective on Thursday, which is the same date that the effective date of the legalization of adult use marijuana. And some of the current language of that House bill would prevent townships from taking action similar to what was going to be considered tonight. So it's in an effort to let that process work through.
Yep.
We're just going to wait and
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so I move over here to the old business. I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Reynoldsburg and Etna Township and authorize $16,333.33 for the cost of the services under the agreement with EMH&T as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call, Ms. Berry?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, so I'll move over to the public hearing regarding the text amendment. Thank you, Mr. Singleton. I move to reopen the public hearing that was recessed back on October 24th, 2023 for the application submitted by the Zoning Commission for text amendments to the zoning resolution to Article 2, definitions, and Article 10, supplementary district regulation. Okay, so is there any trustee comments?
Well, isn't a public hearing? Are you going to ask the public?
Well,
first,
we're
or-
going to ask, I'm asking right now for the trustee comments, please.
Well, my comment would be, this was sprung on everybody yesterday at 5 p.m. And there are some that probably would have attended on these issues, but just as Peter Griggs couldn't attend today because he wasn't aware this was going to be on that portion was going to be on the agenda. I don't think it's right that we're taking this up, especially after when we originally took it up, we were talking about the next meeting, and I think we had 3 meetings between them, and all of a sudden then this pops up again. Again, without planning, and people can't change their schedules that may have wanted to be here to make comment.
You mentioned Peter Griggs. I kind of lost when you were saying Peter Griggs will be here tonight for.
Because it was just announced on our agenda that we're going to be dealing with that, is what he told me.
That's not true.
Well, that's what
Not true.
that's what he had told me. However,
That's right.
like I said, there's been a lot of, especially on the food truck portion of it. I talked to the president of I think it's the Mid-Ohio Food Truck Association, Zach James, and he has a lot of concerns about the proposed regulations. I've talked to other food truck owners also. And again, I didn't even know this was gonna be on today's agenda until yesterday, so we haven't prepared. The public didn't really have ample notice, to attend and give their comment. So I just don't know why we're addressing this in such a rushed manner.
It wasn't rushed. We had it on before, Mr. Evans, so let's make it clear. We reopened it. Is there any public comments in regard? Yes, ma'am. Regarding the hearing. for this.
Regarding section,
Just regarding this, right, it's Article 2 definition, Article 10.
yes.
Okay, please do.
Doris Caceres, Shumack, 9136 Main Street. Just wanted to know if, what was, considered regarding section 1015? Regarding changing the language, as I had, asked during the last,
Mr. Singleton, can you answer Morris's question?
If that was
regarding section
considered.
15? But I want him to.
She's talking about,
Yeah.
see the noise
Section.
yes, I'm sorry, regarding the noise, yes,
and the elimination of it.
We still want him to respond. Thank you.
thank you.
Section 1015 has been recommended to be removed. It is not enforceable by zoning, it is only enforceable by law enforcement with a resolution by the Board of Trustees, and there's only like 2 things that they can enforce with that. But that has to be done by resolution from the Board of Trustees and enforced by the Sheriff's Department. Zoning does not have any authority over that.
Okay. Could you interpret that just a little bit more, just so I can understand that?
The ORC states that the Ohio Revised Code, I don't have the code sections in front of me, those are enforceable by law enforcement, not zoning.
Okay. So Licking County Sheriff, if I were to call regarding noise, they are allowed to enforce that now without,
Based on the ORC, they can enforce noise coming from an establishment that has a Class B liquor license, and for noise being generated within a residential district. That's the only thing that the ORC, the Ohio Revised Code, permits them in an unincorporated township.
So this,
Please, thank you.
as I understand it, part of the recommendation was that any unenforceable portions of the zoning resolution should be removed. And that was one of the sections that is not enforceable by township zoning. And so that's why it was included in the sections that were recommended for removal from the existing resolution.
I did have a question related to hers. You're saying that it can be within residential areas, noise generated can be enforced by the sheriff.
Yes.
So that might address some of your concerns, but I know your concerns are the noise from the industrial over to the residential. And what they're saying is we have no enforcement over that.
for example, if somebody is setting off commercial fireworks, explosives, where it used to be, well, they can do whatever they want on their property. Now, what you're saying is that Licking County Sheriff can enforce that?
The fireworks has its own section of law. That's completely separate from this.
From us, you mean the township?
Yes.
But I'm talking about, for example, Licking County Sheriff.
They can enforce that under the other sections of the Ohio Revised Code that are specific to fireworks.
Okay. And what code is that? I'm just curious.
I couldn't tell you.
If you'll send me an email just to remind me, I'm gonna make myself a note. If you'll send me an email, we can send you the code reference for fireworks.
Okay. Fireworks or
Gunshots.
gun shooting, yeah.
If your neighbors, this happened to us, if your kids are out riding their motorcycles and it's too loud, and your neighbors think it's too loud, Violet Township, I don't know about Etna Township or any other Licking County, has a noise ordinance. So you can call the sheriff's county if the noise is bothering you that bad.
But they're limited to home rule
I was
township.
just gonna say, so Violet Township is different than Etna Township because they are a limited
That's
home
right.
rule township. So, because we are a statutory township, we are limited to what the Ohio Revised Code permits us to do.
But can the sheriff still, can you still call the sheriff for the noise?
Call sheriff.
Yes, the sheriff still enforces
What-
noise within residential or an establishment that has a Class B liquor license. D as in David.
Of course, this is the first time I'm hearing that they can enforce within residential, so we'll make sure that we get that information, so if you do have an issue and the deputy thinks they can enforce it, maybe you can say, no, here under the statute, you can, please enforce it.
Okay.
So we'll work with it.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. I wanted an update. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doris. Okay, so we'll move on to, what's the pleasure of the board?
Was there anybody?
Is there any other, you got it? Okay, please come up to the podium.
So, please verify for me, okay, Skinell dropping their trailers back there. And it sounds like typically it's around 10 o'clock at night, 10, 11 o'clock. It's like boom, 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 like their semi-tires are blowing out in sequence. I can call the sheriff? No.
Because that's going from industrial to residential.
Yeah, but they're not.
However, is that in PMUD, can that be enforced with the PMUD? Because I thought that there was some noise provision in PMUD.
I would have to look at PMUD for that specific property to see what it says.
Could you do that, please?
Mhm.
Look into that for me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other public comments regarding Article 2, definition of Article 10?
I just have some comments on the
Sure.
stuff, because I have concerns about the glare. It's limited to residential districts, and we've got ongoing issues with, on 40, the motel and the business to the east, where the lights are shining out. Numerous complaints about being blinded in the morning. I mean, that motel, or whatever you want to call it, is just directed right at the street. It looks like there's no enforcement whatsoever of that. I'm concerned about. Because that should be on all residents, especially taking into consideration light pollution, which is an ongoing issue. The more and more, if we allow it in industrial areas, they should all shine down. There should be limits, and
That's not limited to residential areas.
that's not.
It says background light levels measured from the boundary of any commercial or industrial use abutting any residential use or at the lot line with any residential district or residential ag districts. But it is regulating from the aspect of the commercial or industrial use.
Because I just read it as anything abutting residential. Well, on 40, the motel is not abutting the residential, is it? Or would you consider it because the rear of it, but it's the face of it that's an issue?
It states that any lights used to illuminate the outdoor areas of the lot shall be shielded so that the rectifier of the bulb is not visible beyond the property line of the parcel to limit light pollution. So
So that's on all.
What's that?
So that's on all
So
properties.
yes, that would be the front of the building also,
Okay.
facing forward.
Then, like I said, the food truck, the limit that I saw as an issue, and every operator did also, is under this provision, if somebody wanted a food truck for their graduation party, it would not be permitted.
There's some papers coming there. There's a word that, it's as simple as basically one word adding in there. As you'll see there when you read down through it, licensed mobile food vendors operating in Etna Township are only allowed to operate special events or festivals that are sponsored by a nonprofit organization, school, or government agency, or homeowner that is located within Etna Township. And then they have any kind of special event, whatever they can have.
So if they want to have a block party, it's that homeowner doing it?
Yes.
Because that was a major concern, like I said, of the president of the food truck, and, I mean, some I've heard that they're just gonna do it. So, I mean, and I think we could really look at, if we do want to regulate if there are issues. He did give you some jurisdictions where they actually have regulations that works well for all. Because they don't want to be bothered to anybody if they have generators or anything.
Right.
So there are some limits of time, stuff like that, so.
That's what that gives any homeowner that ability.
And this is, then on to this, or did you get this language right here?
It would basically just be a word change, just adding that word into the existing, because I didn't get, on the exceptions there, I missed
On the
1, 2,
exceptions.
and 3. That's just an example, but all we need to do is when you make a motion to approve this, you just make that amendment, add that word into it, because you can approve with your amendments.
Now, there's no concern about if it's a renter, they don't own it, does it have to be an actual property owner? By saying homeowner? I just don't know how specific.
Homeowner or, I mean, and you can amend that, you can make it homeowner or resident.
Okay.
That's
So
within your authority.
Would resident be, because if someone's renting a house, we've got an entire development, American Homes for Rent.
That's
that
all rentable.
There's not a homeowner in it.
That is correct, you can do that, that's, this board has the authority to make that change. Make that amendment
Fix
to it.
that.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was just a recommendation for,
Okay,
to look at.
thank you so much. Okay, I would like to know the pleasure of the board. And is there a motion to recess and close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second.
There is one more thing.
Oh, sir.
I think so.
When you look at, should be something in your packet that looks like this.
Yes.
Trent Step, had requested that this be looked at and possibly put into, as an amendment, into the proposed Article 10, excuse me. Excuse me. On the accessory structure square footage limitations, this was discussed at the zoning commission. The prosecutor's office stated at that time that it was not a necessity, that they were fine with variances. However, the BZA as a whole would like to see what you see here in green added into the section 1005 square footage chart. And it was discussed at zoning commission and not moved on. However, in light of a couple different variance requests, and the one that was just granted last week, and based on an opinion from the prosecutor's office that I'm trying to have with them, it's not a necessity. They're comfortable with how it was. However, this just gives them a little more backing to add the accessory structures exceeding these limits on parcels of 3 acres or larger shall be a condition of permitted use. Still has to go to a hearing at the BZA. And then Trent also had in BZA this formula for basically a stair step going up through different size parcels in each zoning district to exceed those levels to a maximum. So they would like to see this also amended with the recommendation from the zoning commission.
And that is in the packets. That's already
Yes.
included.
Where was this formula conceived, or what, somebody else used this?
The BZA
Success,
has
or-
worked on this and come up with this formula. That way, at varying sizes, if you have a 5-acre parcel versus a 10-acre parcel, it gives you that much more room to go as you go up.
The prosecutor looked at this?
Yes.
Okay. Because originally I thought we looked at this a while back and they said we couldn't do that, but.
Well, yeah, originally, but this is based on a zoning district, and this is going under conditional use, and this was actually their recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
So for a 5-acre lot, correct me if I'm wrong, you could have 6,240 feet, which is basically a 60 by 100 barn. Is that correct?
Yes. And you can tweak that if you don't like that much, you can reduce it down, that's.
I mean, because right, I mean, that's a huge increase for what we're doing, but, I mean.
And for the most part, and keep in mind that if there's anything that is agricultural, if it's agricultural property being used for ag, we have no regulatory authority, they can go with whatever size they want. This is strictly for,
anything with 3 acres or more.
yes.
Correct.
I remember like the whole reason we started with this right here is because people were building these great big pole barns in the middle of residential neighborhoods on like a half, 3/4 acre. They were, it was this huge pole barn, so that's the reason we initially went to this several years ago to see how it worked. And we had a lot of people that were happy with it, so I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it was originally done by, there was a chart based on parcel size. And then prosecutor's office said that was discriminatory, it had to be done by zoning district.
Yeah.
So this is still by zoning district, but also it gives them the leeway under the conditional use as the lots get bigger under each one of these to exceed based on that formula.
So it's not approved by the board of zoning appeals, this additional use.
Oh, it is conditional?
Yes, conditional use.
Yeah, they have to stick to this up top, but under conditional use.
It still has to go to hearing before to the BZA.
So is it really changing anything that they could do it anyway? Because they could exceed the limits anyway. They do.
They can, when you do it under the variance, it has to be, they have to prove a hardship.
Okay.
Under the conditional use, that gives the BZA a little bit more control over that, and it's not as restricted to them.
I mean, do we have any concerns in the residential area that there's like, somebody's got a 10-acre lot, and you're gonna put 2 60 by 100 barns?
It's conditional use, so they have to come in out of hearing, but they can put up.
But we don't have any control that goes to the BZA.
Correct, but that's gonna be the data side, the BZA step on. But before, we didn't have the option.
Correct.
So that, you have to show really reason why it's a hardship that you. On 10 acres, I mean, it's not ridiculous, so stick to whatever it said there.
Wish we were, I knew we were gonna be considering this, I'd kind of go through some stuff.
Yeah. When we close the public hearing, Marcus, remember, you got a second, we had some discussion, so it's all in favor, so we can do roll call.
Close the public.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move resolution 23-12-0503.
For the record, you closed it at 8.
I move resolution 23-12-0503 to adopt with the modification that recommendation from the zoning commission, which you talked about, pertaining to the request to amend the zoning resolution to amend Article 2, definition, and Article 10, supplementary district regulation. In Section 1, adopt with the modification as attached with Exhibit 1, which you should have in your packet. Food, mobile food, yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion?
And then under discussion, I'll just reiterate, I'll make the change that was presented.
Okay, that would be good.
To say resident
Okay.
from John in your exhibit one.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, roll call, please, Ms. Waring?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna move over to the AMH easement Borough 2 project. I'll turn the meeting over to trustee Evans.
For what?
Well, we
I
have.
know, yeah,
The
Mr.
boroughs?
Yeah, I know he's here, but I know, you go ahead and speak, but I know Jeff and Mr. Evans were going to go to the area and kind of look it up and get some idea of it, but I'll let you go ahead and speak, please.
Okay.
Just for the record, thank you.
Yes, Randy Robert, Director of Land Development with AMH Development.
Yes.
Here to get your cooperation to obtain an easement from the township for the spillway located on Royals 2 Pond, the backside of that on the parkland. I sent you all this past week five photographs of the outline of the concrete matting and the exact location, and I'm not sure that you went out there, but in lieu of going out there, it looks like I tried to provide enough information that you could decide on granting this easement. It's the base of it, showed in one of those photographs, is to be right next to the creek, very close. Also, it's just the backside, and then I don't know whether, did anybody get out there this week?
I attempted to, there was asphalt machines in that block of the road, and it was too muddy
Okay,
on the side of it. I think you wanted to put ruts everywhere.
okay,
So I was not able to, but I did see your photos.
okay. I would ask that you vote on it, I guess. I'd like to, it's kind of been holding up for 2 months now, our plans, construction plans, and I can give you an update on the road widening, or the road opening, and the pump station if that helps. I will, the road opening is, we looked at several options to do a double lane opening. It ended up being that on the south side, have to rebuild all that and get a plan that the county would approve. It would take 2.5, 3 weeks to get the plan. Getting into Christmas time and having to work in the weather to rebuild the whole road, get an extension onto the culverts that's there. And I think it's generally known that we want the concrete barriers to go on the south side. So we've elected to do a 1-lane opening with a traffic device with concrete barriers on the edge that's existing now, preventing anybody to go over. The drop off, next week, Decker Construction is due out to do the 4 crossings, to do, replace the asphalt in the where the pipes cross the road. And then thereafter, we'll put in the Jersey barriers, they call the concrete barriers, and a device, and then they have to paint little lines to direct traffic so that you know the edge of the concrete barriers are there. So that's all forthcoming, and I believe it will get done by December 22nd, Friday, December 22nd. Pump station is coming along. It's got a startup schedule kind of before Christmas, but that whole process is probably a month long, so I'm figuring by the end of January that'll be working, including the abandonment of the very old lift station that's there. It's basically caused this delay. It's the plan we were working off of. None of those pipes were the same specs. They would order all the fittings to clamp onto them, do all the bypass valves, and none of that worked. And they would send all of it back. It's 2 weeks delay, and that's why we're here today. And I do apologize for that. Nobody expected that. I mean, the township or the district, the water and sewer district, their plans didn't have the pipes that are out there. I mean, they wouldn't take the big valves, so the plans, you have to drop another plan, have Mr. Gilcher approve it, and just 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and there we are. So The plan would be to come back, probably take 6 to 8 weeks closure again, to put the big culvert crossing in, and then do the road widening, including all the lane marking, and there's a guardrail to go in, and it'll be very nice, but there's still a lot of work left. And that'll take place mid-spring, something like that. So, but it's kind of, I'd ask if we get your vote tonight. It's the backside, the spillway is only designed if a total blockage of the outlet pipe that happens. Not 100-year would make any water go over. 100-year flood would not make it go over that. Only if the outlet pipe got totally blocked and nobody took attention to it and unblocked it. So that's the only time it would go over the spillway. The easement has written into it that if you desire, we can mow that area. We can mow the bank of the backside of the pond. All these lots are getting mowed by our company. They're irrigated lots, and we keep the maintenance up on all the lots. It'll be a beautiful development. You'll be proud of it, that's for sure. These are going to be beautiful houses, and you'll be surprised.
So you talked about this overflow drain, sort of pond drain.
Yeah.
Well, where are you going to locate that at? Because right now, there's not really, where that overflow comes out, there's not really a creek bed there. It's kind of just a low area with a deer trail through it. So where would the pipe that drains that lake, not the overflow, the actual height, or whatever you want to call it, spillway?
If you look at if you're at the bottom of the concrete matting, about 20 feet over is going to be a block of large rock, and that's where the outlet pipe is there.
So you're going to dump that over that way too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it ends up
But there's no
creek over here.
There's not a creek there, is my point. There's no creek bed there.
Are you saying over this side? Oh, so he's saying this is the pipe, so the pipe's coming out of our property.
That's my point.
It's
There
spilled
is
into
no
our
creek
property.
bed there.
Right.
It's just a low line.
Right, the creek's over here,
Well,
right?
the creek's over here.
That's what I'm saying,
The creek's all
over
the way over here, yeah. There is a creek over here, because right now the current spillway comes out right here. And there's a creek right there.
here. Right, that I can see,
Yeah.
but that's just dumping into our lane.
Right, exactly. You're right.
Why isn't it designed to go into that creek?
This is where it goes.
And that's the creek. Oh, you're dumping it out there.
It does, yes.
This is wetlands all around.
And he's saying that pipe is right here.
Right, exactly.
And so this is gonna be.
This is just a low way here.
Right, so
we're swamping. Here, we're currently just right in here.
that's what I'm wondering, why isn't that dumped out there?
Well, this I discussed, this is, now if you took this and moved it over, what this is like the wetlands, you will be impacting all this, the way the engineer said, you can't do it because you're gonna be impacting all of this.
Yeah, but this already hasn't been run.
But you're saying additional flow is gonna impact.
Yeah, well, to design it, to say the overflow is going to go that way, you have to redo all this.
My thing is that, the pipe is putting it on our property, and this is just, in case that pipe gets clogged, it's still gonna put it on the property.
All the water goes on top of the spillway.
So you're saying that this is only, if that's, right, but that's gonna be running water out of it, right?
This thing generally has 4 or 5 foot of freeboard, and then it just trickles out. If it gets on high,
Has a park designer looked at this and saying,
he's
saying this is, So water's coming out here or here? It's coming in there. Right here.
This is all wet. So this forever is
That's not useful, so it doesn't matter. It's moot or it's useful.
I saw every single thing, because then it hurt too. And it's a nice, rain down area. There's no currently pond drains into that other, it's a dry creek, it's an out, near the water. I make sure I wait for deer season until I get shot.
But has the park planner looked at this and said, so what do they say?
He never said it was a problem. The fact it was the outline, remember that one part of the outline? We had that last week.
My concern is if we don't get that length permit, we're stuck with this, and it's not we're using that. It's gonna keep our lane.
It's ready now.
It isn't it? But it's gonna be wet too.
Right.
And is that gonna flow down into? But doesn't typically development get some of the water on there? You can't increase it.
We're either in change.
I know, but it's a guy that's saying over number 7.
Is there any payment on this season, or you guys just know?
That is my house.
Well, that's gonna be reimbursed.
Oh, yeah, no, that's my
You guys are paying.
Yeah, page 42, I'm all right.
Pump station? Well, that's what I'm saying, so you don't have to cost, do you? What I understood that as far as I understood that all that are content. Well, how's that? Well, the pump station is included in Langleton. It's got to be.
Yeah, but they gotta come from Rich's place.
That's where I think the park planners would be able to answer that. If they haven't been asked that. Well, you can do mitigation, you can buy, we've got the tons of foundation over there. I'm just concerned about the site. There's something wrong with it. Well, that's what this is, the one about the all that. My concern is you're gonna limit our access. It's Is it actually what land that we cannot modify?
I have more questions.
Is it park engineer?
No, I know, that's fine, but just there's a lot of questions. Why?
Was it asked specifically?
Number 7, that is my house. Literally, my house. There's gonna be a storage there. She's charging the. That's great. Hold on. I'll make it for you. Christmas if I make up.
She's got a one-way tire spikes
So our next meeting is on sorry, I'm making a deal.
They know.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Well, it's not, I mean, it's a 1 foot, it's not like you can run across and do, I mean,
That was good.
and all this mode, now grown. Right, that's what he's saying. Some words coming out now. No, that's what I'm saying, why wouldn't you? It's all the water saying can't.
Unless you go way first. I mean, you're basically on the edge of the last.
This way, right here.
To me, common sense would be here, would be this dry. Well, here you can tell why they determined the thing about you got the road, property, is right next to the road.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask what the pleasure of the board is.
I mean, I think if Christie Hawthorne, Soil and Water haven't been consulted about this or given maybe a little bit more information, if it's absolutely necessary where it's at. And again, the park consultant getting a definitive yes, no, it's not gonna impact, it's not usable, so, or we can incorporate it into some nature walkway or.
We'd be happy to build, if we want to come out of this development and get to a park pathway or so, we'd be happy to do that. I just think you're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. It's the backside of the pond, it's vegetated, we're not gonna be, it is park property. It's gonna always, you're not gonna like take the edge of the pond and cart it down, straight down, it's still gonna have the throw, or the slope up, so.
And I understand this, we need to make a decision. We can't just keep going out, but I think we need to do our due diligence, get all the information. I would have thought water and soil would have done their input.
Yep.
The park committee, like definitive, what's your opinion, not just a casual conversation. I would like to get all that information and make a final decision on the 19th.
I agree. I talked to our administrator here about getting the soil and water involved. I think that's a good thing because that's what they do. So can we table this until the next meeting? And
I'd like not.
the 19th. I'm talking to the board.
Okay.
I think we need to make a decision, get all the information from all parties, because we owe it to them, but we also owe it to our residents to do the proper due diligence. And that would include the park consultant.
So that's
Yep,
Jim.
I understand.
Jim.
Yep.
Jim. Okay.
So I apologize for that. We need the information. I thought.
Yeah, it's better for us to have it all. So, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll turn the meeting over to Trustee Johnson regarding first quarter 2024 trash and recycle fees.
Oh, yeah, we got it last time, talked about some of it, we got more of an exact price, it was right at 150 pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit, it was a little bit less than that, but, if it's up to 150, they felt comfortable that would include anyone, because there's sort of a cutoff time and say, all right, this is our best estimate based on, this period of time. So, their estimate was less than 150, but they thought that would give a comfortable cushion to make sure that, that it was all included. And they're able to suspend the, automatic, payments, primarily because people that are on automatic payments are already current. They didn't have concerns about, somebody not being able to cure an arrearage or anything like that. And then also there would be a message that would go with the billing about, from the township to announce the payment of the first quarter.
Just another way.
That would be trash, recycling, and the bins. That's all inclusive of all residential services that are provided.
And we've done this in the past, it's been well received by the residents, I know Laura will attest, a lot of people call in, thank us for that. I think we've had a good year in the township, we've taken a lot of revenue from our JEDs and JEDCs, and it's the residents' money, and I don't know how to go back without taking it from them also, in the form of levies and things, so this is a way of giving some of it back, I believe, that belongs in their pockets, especially around, we've had kite Christmas and everything else coming up here, that even less bill you have to pay. So, I make a motion that we pay for the first quarter of trash for the Etna Township residents not to exceed $150,000.
Can I ask 2024?
Yes, 2024, first quarter of 2024.
I'll second it. For discussion, we had ours paid and felt good. We had that one less item we had to pay. So I'm for it. It's not political. Nobody's running for office to use it as a political pawn. I've heard that. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
I think it's a nice gesture.
My discussion, I'm forwarding a comment made by a resident. I hear this quite a bit. What started out as a political stunt for re-election, paying for a few months' trash collection, has become a permanent political strategy. Money should be spent on township expenses and debt drawdown as expected. I've put up here 9 photos of our Etna Cemetery in total chaos. Fallen tombstones, broken fences. These are our statutory obligations. We should be addressing these things before we're paying for trash. You talk about JED revenue coming in. We have declining revenue. Amazon was 1.2 million a year. It's expected to go down to 900,000 next year. They're halfway through their abatement. What happens when they're gone? We have increasing costs. We've got projects on Pike Street. There's a 550-foot segment that wasn't accounted for that is nearly $900,000 that we could be on the hook for. We've got a lot of obligations. We came in here, Julie came in here, and what we weren't aware of a $600,000 loan on Taylor Road that wasn't disclosed. We have a ton of obligations, declining revenue, and a lot of obligations. Like I said, the cemetery, all of them need repair. Some of them don't have the required fence, but that is neglect, and we should take care of that before we do a trash giveaway. And this doesn't even account for all residents, because there's many that I've heard from that live in the villas of Cumberland that their trash is not paid for because they're not on wind waste. And I've heard time and time again from residents, we don't want you to pay our trash. We want you to provide those services, mitigate the impacts of the development, and do what we need to do. Not pay our trash. What's next? Internet? We're going to buy a Happy Meal for everybody? We can't just give away funds when we have all these obligations coming up. We've got $3.5 million on Refugee Road. We've got, we go over and over and over. We've got a room back there that's full of records we can't use for executive sessions that's going to cost money to address. This is irresponsible.
So you think $150,000 or giving people on the list trash bills, average bill $45 or something like that, you know? You think you should just take that from the people, from the township, so you can spend it? That's not how I don't see it that way. I see it's their money. We have extra in our budget, we should give it back to them some form.
We don't
and to throw the cemetery into it stuff, it's nice that you took some pictures and brought our attention, but did you do anything about it, Mark? The fence that's up there, I know there's talk, that fence is from kids knocking it out. How many times did you change that fence, Bubba? How many times?
He used to watch it twice a month.
Yeah, he stays up on it. The kids were going through there, we had that nice fence around that whole cemetery, put up that beautiful fence, and they tore it down like every week. And so, he had to keep going out, so that's the reason they got the chain link there.
Broken tombstones.
We have nothing to do with that.
We are obligated to maintain them.
Not the
No,
tombstones.
it's not. Misleading the people.
The tombstones.
No. Even taking out the cemetery, we've got tons of obligations coming up. We've got, it is, excuse me, increasing costs, increasing obligations. These roads in Drayton Hall, they're public. We're going to have to take over it, and they're asking us to give another $1.1 million to them. This is irresponsible, and I've spoken to a lot of people through the referendum, elections, and everything.
I have to.
Nobody wants this trash paid. They want to not be inconvenienced by the development. They want the traffic handled. That could be for studies, for improvement, for roundabouts, we're paying for 4 extra deputies that we really shouldn't have to, and that's a $600,000 cost per year. We are giving back in services. This is nothing but a political stunt, and
I don't see how political, I'm in office. I mean, I don't,
That's why I
I mean,
said,
to me, I think
what's
it's not a political
what's
stuff at all,
stuff?
it's just,
I don't get it.
I
If
thought
I
there was
give money back to our
discussion at our
residents,
last
that-
meeting about a $6 million carryover.
It was, yeah.
Of
Darren can-
unused funds.
And what happens when Amazon leaves, like others whose abatement expires?
Darren
we're
can
not gonna
attest to the
get that
$6 million
money.
carryover. Yes.
That's, you know why we have that? Because of Amazon.
Can I say
Okay,
something?
please, Ms. Brown.
And John and Nita can, I don't know if Nita can attest to this. We had had many calls from senior citizens that have thanked us for paying the trash. I have one lady on Taylor Road that every time she calls, regardless of what it's for, she says, when are they gonna pay the trash again? So there are people, there was a lady just in your last meeting, I don't know her name, sitting in the front row here, that said, when are they gonna pay our trash again? So there are senior citizens and people out there that like the trash being paid.
But
When we
even if
talk
you do
about
that-
the villas, they are, their trash is included in their homeowner association fee that they pay. So we're not gonna include them in the conversation because it's a different situation.
But they're residents. Why? It's
Yeah,
disparate. It's disparate
Yes, I have
treatment
4 cousins
of.
that live in 4 of those houses, and I know the
Right. It's
residents.
disparate treatment to residents.
To me, it's simple, to me, it's simple. We're making a goodwill gesture as a township, that we collected money from the people, and we're trying to find a way to give it back at the time of the year they need it. And some people, it might be a big deal, they see it because they don't have that bill. To some people, it might not be any difference to anybody around here, you might have plenty of money to pay, some people don't, some do. But it was a way of fairly giving money back to the township, since we have access at this point.
And so as far as this cemetery, which you brought to the people for a visual, it looked the worst of the worst, so we look like we're not doing our job here. And I'm so glad Mr. Bubba was here to explain the situation, that he's been working on this, and they cut the grass, they do a fine job. The situation is the kids constantly vandalize that. So you know, he's out there constantly going out there replacing it. So the chain link fence was more of to fix the situation, which is a lot less expensive. Can I hear from you?
Yes, as far as the children going into the cemetery playing, you know, to me, that's sacred ground, and maybe somebody needs to say something to the Orchard Glen Homeowners Association to ask the parents.
And actually, when I first did, because I was in charge of cemeteries back when we did all that, the people that in Orchard Glen actually built their fences back in the cemetery. Because we didn't used to have a fence there. They had like that big green box that's in your yard for electric. That was in the middle of their yard, not in the back corner of their yard. So we had to get them to take down their fences, move it. We established our fence with a nice white fence like that, nice picket, looked really nice. And they wanted to cut across there instead of going around. So they would just pop through there and direct through there. And I don't know how many times we fixed it. But finally said that, you know, we can't keep spending money on this. Let's put up a chain link, and it's a more secure fence, keep people out of there. Obviously, one of the neighbors, even at that time, she even come to us, she goes, well, I don't know who's doing it, it's kids. And I said, well, whose kids? So we can, and she goes, well, I'm not telling you. So, I mean, I didn't know what to do at that point, so I put up a fence. I mean, if that's what we gotta do.
To me, I just feel that, you know, cemetery is sacred ground, and children shouldn't be playing.
Well, yeah, we agree. I totally agree to that, but kids will be kids, right?
Right.
Well, even if you take the cemeteries out of it, we've got cruisers we're paying for. We've got escalating costs, declining revenue. Look at every Gen and Gen Z projection; it's gone down.
So how do we have
So why are we giving money when we're not doing what we should?
So why do we have such a surplus then, Mark?
Because of Amazon, over the last 6 years, we've got 1.2 million a year from them, but they're halfway through their abatement, and they've been looking at automated centers north of 70. You think they're going to shut down and retool there? No, they're going to go. They might go to Pataskala.
Well, my point is that through those years that Amazon's put money, we collect too much money from our citizens.
Can we vote on this?
And the way to give it back is to do this. And when it comes, I'm sure if we get money on these, then don't pay the trash anymore. It's that simple. All the questions.
Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move over to the draft for the 2024 budget. you all have copies of it. Laura took her time to make copies for all of us. So we have it here in front of us, and I spoke to Ms. Miriam last week. Nita and I had a conversation with her. So my questions were asked and answered. There were some things in the budget. One of them was the cleaning, which we took out of there at $1,000. Salary for clerk. Yes, salary in here for a clerk. 45,000 a year. You're adding a clerk.
That was for the records. That was for the records.
Hiring new employee. I think you moved that out of there, didn't you?
I think I did. I think I moved it down, I reduced it for like a consulting company to do it. We talked about that. Or
Yes, yes. And the reason why is because if we brought in a clerk just to come in to scan documents and to do public records, you're gonna eventually out-scan yourself. You're not gonna have more stuff to scan. You have Laura here, full-time. Have Nita Hanson here, our administrator, full-time. So.
I have a couple of questions though on the line, first page. Item 1,110, 190. I'm sorry, 1,110, 211. Quadruple zero, Ohio Employees Retirement System. You had a decrease in that number, is that? I didn't make right or my eyes were bad. No, I'm sorry. Salaries.
which, are you going to zoning secretaries?
Yeah, the zoning secretary, you dropped it down to, is that what you were talking about? They removed it?
No, it's increased.
That increased to 52,000 from 43.
Oh, I'm working off the old one still. Okay, because I checked, sure. Okay.
You have the one that Laura gave me tonight?
Yeah, but I have copies of it. I'm still on, I need notes on the other ones.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to compare what.
Yeah, that's what I did earlier last week.
Election expenses. What was it? Did that go away? Election expenses.
It shouldn't, it's part of the taxes. Unless
Yeah, it's part of the taxes.
actually, we didn't use it, so I didn't zero it, there isn't anything in there.
Right, okay. That's why I wondered why it didn't get passed on.
There are some, when we get the tax revenue in, there are expenses that come out of that. And I think one of them was election expenses, but
Okay.
it does seem weird to have that in there, I agree.
Okay, I was confusing Tony. All right, I don't remember ever seeing that before. Payments to another political subdivision. We've always had money in there because things have come up. This would be on page 2, line 1,000, 120, 599, all zeros.
I believe we changed the wording of that for the auditor,
Okay.
and it's,
I don't have anything, that was from 2022.
Right.
yeah.
I remember
think
why,
it's-
that question why that was in years ago, and they're like, well, because we pay things to other political subdivisions. And so there was always money on that line for that.
Sure.
And now there's not, and I thought, well, how are we paying that? We have to pay a fee, we were paying fees to whoever or something, so, all right. If that's what you change, as an audit change, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. I'm fine with that. Queens, what does she have in here? Zoning, salary zoning, line 100, 1,000, 130, 190. 0.
130, 190?
That
Oh,
has-
salary, okay,
That
yeah.
has both, like John and an assistant in there, a part-time, assistant.
Is that money? I guess it's 81 on this one.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, you read it.
we just did part-time.
Okay.
And then the other salaries general underneath that is what is Laura for her zoning.
And you said these pink lines that you put in,
Those are
and
just-
you would come back and revisit later?
Yeah,
or something?
those are just reminders for me.
That's why I didn't know what that was for exactly, and you gave that one earlier.
And what's the other expense at 45,000?
Which line?
And it's 50,000 for 2024, which is 135,999.
What's the full account number? What page?
Right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's under zoning
So there's only
program.
135.99 second on the bottom.
So we forecast, well, 2022 is 45,000, and then, looks like 2023, you went to 5,000, and then now 2024, we're at 50,000.
That's just because there's always random other expenses that pop up that aren't not predictable. So,
Related to zoning?
yeah, well, it could be. I mean, if we do, with all the new development around here, I figured there might be something, so I stuck 50,000 there. And then that can also be transferred out to say salaries or something. If we decide that we need another full-time person instead of just part-time, I can always transfer that money out into, within the zoning, funds.
So that means in zoning, you have $81,000, $25, and down here, you got another 50,000.
That's just a placeholder for any other expenses.
Yeah, but you can use that for salary, you were saying, correct?
I can,
Okay.
but I have to bring the transfer to the board, so you would see the transfer of me using it.
Because it's in there doesn't mean it's approved to spend or anything, this is just estimated.
So you're talking,
Yeah,
131,000?
not even some of the funders.
And then there is zoning and land planning, which was nothing there for 2022. 2023, we had 85,000, and then looks like 2024, we're predicting another 80,000, well, a total of 80,000.
Where'd the comp plan fee go? Where's that at? Is that, is it public works? Or?
There's 30,000, there's that wrong one.
Line item 1,000.
Contracted services.
Yeah, it's at 320.
Public works. Is that wrong?
Is that more appropriate under zoning and land planning? Is that public, or is that public, is that really public works? Is it appropriate for public works, or is it better categorized under zoning? More, okay, if you think it's that.
Is that about though?
It's for zoning. And then another,
How about, you only have, you went down $50,000 for this house. That's on 210. Exception 210.
Oh, we've got 4 sheriffs. That's,
Yeah, I can move that. What do you think?
Well, it cost, how much does sheriff cost? Like 100, was it 100?
we haven't.
With their cruiser and
Oh,
everything?
definitely, it's because ARPA money is still paying for that, so that we're still using that one. To reimburse part of it, so that is just the spare
That's
extra.
just okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
won't you have the full amount in there and then just you pay it through ARPA, or that's not how the UAN
And
works?
reimbursing the general fund.
now, so I look at it, I'm thinking that.
I can ask the auditor for sure.
Parks Department. We have some salaries in there, which is $5,000, right? And
Yeah,
then,
well, they don't really separate the timesheets out,
yeah, are you still doing that, I guess, is that?
they're not really doing it.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have more expenses, but we're gonna try to do other, like capital outlay, or we're gonna try to do other parks program, or.
I can do it, we can do it now, I mean, if you think there's gonna be more, now would be the time to do it.
I'm asking a question, because I'm not
If
gonna
we're
be,
in a
I'm
more
not part of the next administration to approve it, so.
when Nita and I talked about it, if I recall correctly, there wasn't gonna be a whole lot done probably this year, in 2024 at the park, correct?
I think that's an accurate projection, that it's not likely we will need extra staff. I call them staff, for 2024, based on how things are progressing now. I mean, the likelihood of the park being fully developed in terms of structures and mowing and, that type of thing, I think it's not likely to be a 2024, but should be a 2025 expense.
No, what are the stuff that-
Well, those are the questions I have.
Is there, Mark thought of revenue that I hadn't thought of, but I haven't today, well, I will add to the revenue schedule, which is the farm income. But, is there any other revenue that I'm not thinking of? As in
Farm income.
Oh, the farm.
You have a revenue
But
sheet.
I don't think it'll be farm.
Or that. That one was.
You started to say you don't think we'll be farming it?
I'm sorry?
You said you didn't think we would be farming it?
I don't know.
Why
I
would
guess
we
we'll have to
farm
wait to
it?
see. But, it's obviously good to have the placeholder for it.
I mean, what's the real estate taxes versus farming? Is it hurting us we're getting more?
Yeah, they.
Just like, I think you're 5,000 and you got 6,000 and you got $4,000.
Did we have any place for payment of the refugee road bond?
That's not due for 2 years.
Yeah, it doesn't start till 25.
What about gasoline taxes? Should it be, or is it moved?
We're gonna put it in there.
Because that's what, one year to date, so are you thinking the 193, what we had before?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's just put it at 190.
190. Road and bridge, you think is going down? Or was that off of that auditors?
That's the auditors.
Really? I thought it was going down. Okay.
I have jet reimbursement in here, but
Yeah.
I don't. Well, on the second page, I have jet reimbursement of 225,000, and I just don't think that's gonna happen. I would like to not include that.
You don't think we'll get any money back from that?
Not reimbursements, but not that big of an amount. When I saw their budgets, it's not.
Wait a minute,
Well,
what
it's
are
in
you
the
doing? I'm sorry.
PIA accounts. It's what's in,
Cat reimbursements from right off that.
it's what's in the PIA account.
Well, I have
It's
100,000.
not what the current revenue is.
I have 100,000 on the first page at the bottom, where it says debt reimbursement for like radios, trucks.
What about cat reimbursements for legal?
Legal fees.
Yeah, I have,
Well, that's the second
200,
page.
that's the 225 I'm talking about. It's estimated, for the hours and hours and the insurance. That's the 225. I just kind of think, I don't know, maybe I don't know enough. But I can definitely include it.
Yeah, because the PIA account just keeps building, you know, 10 to 30% of the time. So
We should start thinking about.
Should there be an amount under 2024 for the NCA accounting legal fees?
Right now, there's nothing there.
there is, isn't there?
No,
174,174.15.
no,
Or for the legal, is that counting also?
no, there's nothing there. It says accounting legal fees.
I don't think we're looking at the same line.
Yeah,
On the
we're,
first page.
Page
yeah,
two.
there's nothing there.
Page two, there's one
I
on
think I took that out because we thought they were gonna start paying their own.
Oh, right,
So-
and it's still gonna be on a reimbursement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be an automatic reimbursement, or
Yeah,
a
and
quick
out.
turnaround reimbursement, but.
It didn't see there.
Okay.
Yeah, in and out, that's
Okay.
right, in and out.
Okay.
So. What's a good guess, do you think? I mean, we've got 9,700 year to date.
Yeah, I think it's, I think it won't be any
10
more
grand.
than that.
It was just do 10.
Yeah, so maybe 10.
Okay.
What's the Medicare?
That's our, like salaries and wages taxes.
The what, I'm sorry?
The taxes on our, wages.
It's the required
Federal.
Are we looking at revenue or are we looking at
We're
expenses?
kind of up in between.
Everybody's doing different things.
I'm just trying to
I
be.
hated the game, I'm sorry. I started looking at it, talked to you last week, so I kind of.
I mean, I'm good with the expenses because I went over all this with Julie before. And the revenues too, just making sure this spreadsheet's correct.
The dump truck is, wait a minute, 185,000?
That's for two.
Is that for two? Okay.
Two dump trucks?
Yeah.
No, there's one that's the plow truck and one's the replacement for the F-350.
Right, okay.
I think they're 2005 and 2000 and I went off of numbers that Bubba and I had discussed previously, last year.
I just had the chart that Bubba gave you for,
Right.
like, the year of likely replacement and the expected cost
Yeah.
of replacement, and
Do you
based
have,
on that
do
chart.
you have the sale of
Bubba
those
had.
and
Right.
revenue or
No, because it's not.
it'll offset it, but you don't include that stuff?
Should,
Okay,
so
that's
we
fine.
don't know if we're gonna get much more.
Do we have any tip revenues that are gonna be starting to come in? Ms. Hanson?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question.
That's
can
part of
find
the
out.
economic development. I mean, there's properties that I think we're close to, I recall an email between Carlisle and I think Albers regarding, I think it was 3 years ago, talking about how the tips will start kicking in and that we should be getting revenue, and per the email was gone out.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, I'm happy to look into it.
Okay, I think we need to get a handle on the tip agreements and
I mean, obviously, you know, High Point and, Smoke Creek and, I'm not sure Smoke Creek's on it. High Point, you know, that's not even close enough to development.
no, I'm talking about in the corporate park in
I'm sorry?
the corporate park.
I'm happy to take a look at that, I just don't know the answer to your question.
I'm looking, I don't see, okay, here, I see now, I'm kind of confused here, is that, fiscal office, yeah, more up here, fiscal officer.
Yeah, no, I know right where it is, I just don't know the answer to the question.
Why is it interesting, the road and bridge on the first?
On the road,
Yeah, is it just because of their funds separated?
we get interest, when we get interest in it goes,
You have to allocate it?
out to everything.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry?
The recorder's still on?
Huh?
Okay. I saw a red light, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I don't see the administrator on here.
She's like right by me she's the third line down on that first page. 1,000, 110, 131.
Oh, I see down here. But then she's not here, she's not here. Everything else looks like it's, in order, except just in that one place. Is there a reason why it's just in that one place but not on the rest of them? Because it looks like we repeated here on the proposed annual increase of 1.75% on 2024, 25, 26.
Are you on the salaries?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
And in
those,
2023, I see.
so Laura printed off the 2023 ones as well. So
Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna see duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just the 2024 ones that you want, and I think those must be in purple because you can't see it.
Yeah, they're here. I don't see her on the 24, 5,
I added her.
and
Hang on.
6.
She'd be in the
Wait a minute, I see her, wait a minute, because this would be the 23.
Just a second. Maybe
Yeah, I don't
crossed
I see, yeah, it's not there. Do you have yours there, Ms. Swanson? The one that has the purple on it, like this?
Oh, yeah, she's, I'll show you.
I see it here, but I'm kind of
It's
trying to
just the
figure out.
page cuts off.
But she wouldn't be on 22, because she wasn't here then.
She's not 23 either.
Right. Okay.
But on. It starts, so it starts.
Oops, that's your fault.
Administration.
Yes, okay.
Secretary, and
Right.
there's administrator, and then it goes down to this page.
Right here.
Yep, and then
And then it goes to the next page.
Yep.
But I just didn't see the year, because that would be 2024, right?
Yeah, it just lines up right here.
Yeah. But then I don't see it at 25 and 26. She's not there.
Oh, well, I wasn't planning that far, I did.
But everybody else is there.
Yeah, that's just when I originally created it. I can add her to 24.
No, I just wasn't sure. Yeah, so we have to have it in there, right?
No, we're just looking at 24 right now.
Okay.
And then the health, it's only $100, but shouldn't it be 2,700, not 2,800 for the first person?
I did change it. Wait. I didn't change it.
And I see on some it's 27, some is 20.
Yeah.
Well, for 2025, which I guess it doesn't matter. For
I just
our
changed
purposes
24.
right now, yeah, you just changed 24, so that's okay.
Okay, there is a vacant new road, that's for that new person. So we don't want to see that's it.
Do we have in here the 320, or the 310 payment? The payment? And is there,
At a table at the top.
why, would it be preferable to have it taken out there instead of receiving it? Or I guess receiving it, they're paying, it's fine. But we have that payment in here.
Yes.
Okay, 310, the contracted services for the 310 project. I'm at page 5 of 6. It's showing nothing now. Because we get the revenue, but then we have to pay. Remember there's an issue.
I'm sorry.
The
Mark, it looks like on page 3,
I appreciate, I just was like, oh.
in the middle, there's like 910 transfer programs. Is that what you're talking about? Shows that in now on it?
For the 310 improvement
Yeah.
project, that might be, okay, you got it there.
I have to transfer it in from the general fund.
Yeah, that's fine. We're putting the reporter to sleep.
It's such a small crowd now.
Well, look,
Imagine this.
To include record service and media special. What is the, back to the 5-year forecast, because I'm very.
Sure.
Excuse me.
For the record service and.
Yes, ma'am, includes record service media specialist. What is that? $80,000.
That's the, like the Western media that we talked about, that, would be the manager of like Facebook and social media stuff. I think Nita got a quote for 40-some thousand on that, and then.
To revamp the website.
Yeah.
Sort of update update the website and then, manage the social media
We're not gonna use
Can we-
Dodger anymore.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, it was just in terms of having an idea for to put it in the budget, like what amount might that cost?
The only reason I was asking is because if that was the case, he's been really good to us, we might wanna give him a heads up so he's not expecting that.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think any decisions are being made like that. It's just a matter of, a line item for website maintenance, social media maintenance that would include a certain number of postings as well as monitoring for responses and that type of thing.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me, it went from, in 2022, it was $8,600, which we kind of think we probably made that off of what we had paid him before. And then we go to, then we go to 10,000 for 2023, which, okay. But then we're all the way at 80,000 for 2024?
Well, that's also to include a record service to clean out the conference room perhaps, or other items.
We have 2 employees here, Laura and Nita, full-time.
And that conference room's been like that for over 5 years.
Laura, she started on that. She started working on it.
And the budget doesn't mean we're spending it, it's just.
I understand that, but I just want to be on the record that, you bring somebody in here to work full-time, to remove records, to scan documents, that position eventually works as, you don't need them anymore after about 3, 4, 5 months. So you could bring in like a college intern to do something like that, or hire a company, contractor company that does that. I've done that before. But this is not, there's no way you should be bringing in a full-time person just to do that. That makes no sense. That's not something we should be doing. So, but $80,000, that's quite a bit. It's a lot of money.
That'll be determined by the board to either approve it or not.
Well, yeah, you guys are, you and Mr. Burkholder will control the board, I get it.
Ms. McKee,
That's fine, I get it, but I'm just wanting to make it clear that we will spend money wisely like we've been doing in the past, hopefully.
I think you're confusing budgets and actual authorization.
No, I'm not, I'm just making sure.
Theoretically, we could have 500,000 in there.
You're correct about that, but I'm just making sure that's known.
I mean, you could put in there to replace the security system again. I mean, it doesn't matter unless there's board action.
Okay.
So how about I make these updates and then I send it to you guys?
Yeah, that's fine.
How long do you think it would take to get to revenue?
I don't know if there's anything under it now. We can always update it. Well, I think we need to get a handle on that. I mean, we should know that regardless.
I think like just
The county.
if this is mid next week, then I can have, I can send this out without that type of money in it anyway. And everything's out.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, they probably won't until they get payments. I don't know.
Anything else?
You answered our question.
I mean, are we passing it as changed, or would that allow you to?
No, let's wait. If you don't mind waiting until next week, and then I can pass it by the auditor and make sure I've got all the transfers in and out and all the stuff handled correctly, and then, is that all right?
We gotta try to pass the whole budget, or just?
It's a pleasure to the board, but.
Are you gonna do what do you call that?
A permanent or a temporary?
Yeah, temporary one, since your term's gonna be up, you want to do a temporary one, just so it's up to a certain point when you leave, or?
I'm here till March.
I know, normally, what
No,
I'm
because
saying.
I don't wanna leave, the temporary one is expired,
It's 3 months.
at the end of March, so I don't want somebody to walk into a temporary budget, that'd be awful.
Okay. I just wanted.
No,
And budgets can be changed at any time.
I'm,
Exactly,
if
change
you're
them.
comfortable, if you're comfortable with it next week, I think we should try to go for a funding. That's my opinion.
Are we doing a special meeting? Because our next meeting's in
I meant the
2
19th, I meant the next one.
Does that give you enough time to get everything in place?
I think so. As long as.
With the
you guys can
certificate
review
of
it.
estimated resources and all that?
You guys can review it and.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean,
Ms. Sampson.
No, it's just,
it looks good to me. I mean, I would say as long as there's no other changes, you can move ahead with it. If we approve it, if there's something you find, then you can bring it back to, I don't know if it'll give you more time. Does it get up to 19th to the end of the year?
I mean, I think I would like to make these changes and pass it out there and make sure everything looks right and you guys approve it, if that works.
Okay, let's move on over to the fiscal officer. I know you, under the transfer of funds from the 100,000, I'm sorry, from the general funds to the roads for road crew expense, 400,000, you wanna transfer that?
Yes.
Okay, and then we only have 3 weeks left in this year, so I think we should do anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 to transfer.
Okay, so just so you know, so the first 3 months of the year are based and paid for by the unencumbered balance that we carry over from 23 into 24. So if we only do 50 or 60,000, we're not gonna have enough funds to pay for anything out of the roads department for January, February, March.
Okay, because it looks like we're, for the January, February, March, according to your email, we're gonna pay what, let me see.
Julie, is that true even if the 2024 budget is passed?
It's
Does it
passed,
still
but we don't
carry
have the
over?
actual revenue yet from the real estate taxes
So
for
the
the
revenue-
roads, oil levy money
So the
until
revenue
like
doesn't come
April.
in.
Yeah, so we have to have something to operate on that first quarter.
And again, it doesn't mean we're spending that in the roads, that can be transferred out, it's just, you're just moving it from one jar to another to ensure you have enough spending.
So this is for,
It's just a big jar.
I'm sorry.
I said it's just a big jar.
Yeah, pop it all in there.
You can only transfer out general.
Yep.
I can't
You can only go from general to the other ones, right?
I can transfer within the general with just like that basic spreadsheet that I give you guys, and then you approve it, and it's not a big deal, it's just a motion. But when I go from general to like roads or general to something else, it has to be by resolution. So it's the same amount of money, we have the same amount of money, we're just moving it from general to roads to make sure that we can meet those obligations in December and then the first quarter.
Mark's question was,
Can you
transfer it back?
Yeah, you can answer that.
Can you, so that's what you put it in.
You put it
Generally, you can do anything.
You can transfer it.
it back.
You can transfer it from any fund into the fund. Well,
Well, not the
aside from the
revenue
special
fund.
revenue.
If it's the road tax, the levy, you can't transfer that out, but if you spent it,
Yeah, but we won't get that till April, so.
so you need this funding in there to carry you over. And again, it's just going from one jar to another, it's not spending it, it's not. I mean, theoretically, she could put $1 million, and it wouldn't make a difference.
So it's left there right now.
So Julie, you're saying we need it to funds to pay the OPERS, health insurance, salaries, and supplies for the road department, just for the next 3 weeks, correct?
No, from now until the first quarter of April is that.
First quarter of April?
First quarter to April, or first quarter, up until we receive
January,
the tax money.
Until the taxes come in April.
A lot into this funds. Cause you'll get, what, like, almost $600,000 from the one?
That's a carryover.
No,
It's not a carryover.
No, from the road levy. Tax.
Oh, okay.
And you'll get that in April first, right?
Right.
So
Okay,
there's,
yep, yep.
there's 500 to 600,000 right there, but we'll get it in April first, is what you're saying, and we need it for January, February, and March.
Okay.
Which I didn't realize we were that low in the roads.
I didn't either, actually.
But when you approve your 2024 appropriations, doesn't that supersede this sheet?
No, I need that now, I need that for December, that's for this year.
Right, but when you approve it in the 2024 appropriations, that changes this to match
It
what
changes
you.
it, but it doesn't include right now, we don't have any unencumbered balance to carry over into 2024. And I am really short in the roads fund as it is. So I need the transfer to make it, I did it for 400s with the thought in mind of partial for December, and then it carries over into the first quarter of 2024.
I mean, this is just a UAN accounting.
I totally get that, but when you approve your 2024 appropriations and we send it down to Brad, all these numbers turn into the 24
Yes.
numbers.
These are off.
So
But
these
they also-
numbers will change
But they-
before April.
Yeah, this spreadsheet is off.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Julie, I'm sorry.
I was just agreeing with you that yes, they will change.
Are you, looking at the one that was left on your,
Yeah.
there's been about 4,
Well, this is the latest current one, and I
Okay.
think it's.
I just wanted to
as
make
far
sure
as
that you were
the-
looking at
The spread, yeah.
I actually conferred with Brad about it today.
Sure I got the right one. I got through the
This is
other way,
stapled one.
it's a million.
Let's just leave it.
Yeah.
This is correct. 945, correct.
I mean, this is just an accounting transfer, same amount of money is gonna be spent.
How much is left in there right now? Yeah, close, huh?
$5,000.
That's all left in the road and bridge?
Right now there is, yes.
Are there salaries and all that?
Oh, yeah, well.
Oh, you can't see it, this doesn't. Well, that's 1129. That's
A lot
right.
of that was contracted services and paging.
Salaries, it still shows, that's what was still in, it still says like 218,000 for salaries.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean there's funds, that's just what's appropriated that we planned for, not necessarily that there's funds still in there to draw from.
Oh, so we don't have actuals anywhere? I thought these
You
were
have
actuals.
actuals.
Huh?
You have actuals.
Swear. Are they, right?
They're right there in the budget.
This one?
Yeah, that's actuals.
Yeah, it's just 218,000. I'm looking at the wrong spot. Line, line 330 highway program, highway funds. 2031, 330, 190. I'm looking at.
I think.
Oh, year to date you spent that much. I'm
Yes.
sorry, year to date you spent that much. All right. That's when I said it was 20. I was thinking that was how much was left in it. It's not the balance. So it really doesn't show the balance, it just shows what we spent up to date. Okay, so it doesn't show a balance. All right. So you won't have anything show, or having that, none of these papers show what's in that fund. This one is.
I mean, she says there's 5,000 in there, do you wanna see a printout? I don't know if you're not believing her, or this is just accounting. You know? There's still plenty in the general fund.
Probably have to come in there. Did we spend more on salaries this year? Is that what happened, or?
We
I guess-
spent a lot on contracted services.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
Thinking
salaries, it was
and-
the contract services, guys,
Yeah.
because you're trying to put it back over in the salaries
Yes.
section.
I'm just trying to put it to roads. Like at the
Yeah.
moment. So for anything in the roads department.
That's what's going on. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, we used to get those nice papers that are in that book. Has been updated lately, that's what was in the book.
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, that's one, yeah. Kinda helps out a lot. Hey, what's up?
But you said you didn't take salary out for parks, you took it out for cemeteries, and work like, because there was, when they worked on the park, they took their hours out, and worked on cemeteries, they took their hours out. But,
They aren't putting on the timesheets for me to know how many.
so we never took those salaries out of those.
Right.
You're
That's
supposed
probably why we're over
I
there.
mean,
They're
the more they
supposed to.
work over there, maybe in 2024 we can talk about politics. The more they work over there, and the more they're doing over there, if they're over there mowing for 3 days straight, then yes, please mark that as hard or.
Yeah.
Because we can't pay them for the park and stuff out of the road.
Right now we're paying them out of the
That's what they were doing with Stephen Shalhoub. When he was 2 days over here, they were still paying him on the, while it was paying him on the roads, and we can't do that. You have to separate. They come out of zone, because you can't pay out of the levy zoning or anything else.
Yeah, we're
There's
in
nothing.
discussion.
Well, there's been lots of discussion, but there's been a motion.
There was a motion?
I didn't,
No, we're gonna move to transfer funds as presented. Yeah. We went into a discussion without getting a second, so I guess we should.
Did you make
go
the
back.
motion?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't hear the motion or a second, there's just been discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 23-1205-0, what are we up to?
Well, this would be a 4.
4, transfer funds and amend the 2023 appropriations as presented.
Second.
We done with discussion? We did that. Roll call, Ms. Marion?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
You would update those, please, those.
Yep.
If they're on that, appreciate it. Thank you.
I did a spare purchase order resolution to include that Maverick Motors.
Yeah, I got that. Mhm.
So, if you wanna do, that one's the one to pass.
Julie, did you do this transfer?
Oh, yeah, we need that transfer as well. Sorry. That's just a basic one in between accounts.
All right, I move to approve resolution number 23-1205-05, to approve purchase orders as presented.
And that, just
With
remember,
the
that's.
cruiser repair.
Okay.
Okay, so I do have a question though on those, in the
Is there a
discussion.
second?
I'll
Yeah, we need a
second,
second.
and then with discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Those, account codes are off, so we needed to get those straightened out because you got auditor of the state and the ice miller have the same code. There's no way. Under the
Oh,
incident legal.
Well, that's why I
to-
sent you an email about it.
Yeah, I'll revise those.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so the roll call or do we just-
Yeah, roll call, Ms. Mary.
We have two of these, right? Whatever.
Yeah,
One was
this
with
one
the
has
cruiser,
Maverick
one was
Motors
with
on it.
That's why I want to make sure.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Now you need that 6175 transfer.
Yes.
She needs this stuff.
That doesn't have to be on that resolution, just by motion.
So that would be,
There's no resolution number, it's just your simple transfer.
okay. Yep, this is to transfer the funds. That's
You
presented.
as presented, I'll
Yeah,
clear codes.
okay, there you go, as presented, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Like I said, in discussion, I'll put
You'll put
codes
those in,
in there
okay,
for that
thank you.
$6,175.
Thank you very much. I move to ratify the payments for the bills as shown on the payment listing. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, we can go ahead and move over into the announcements of the trustee and comments.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is, if you would give me the information much sooner when you actually have it, I'd be able to get the questions, and we could probably flush through a lot of this stuff beforehand and address this stuff in a more timely manner during these meetings. Holding it 25 hours before the meeting is just improper when you've had this for quite a while, and I believe the full board should be updated on things like tips that are coming up, amendments. They should not be kept from one trustee on this board. We are all equal, and we should be treated so.
Nobody's kept anything from you, Mr. Evans. Okay, with one more township meeting left in 2023, I want to take the time to shed some light and speak truth. As the facts demonstrate, it has never been my goal or intention to be the president of this board of trustees after my election in November 2021. My intention was to serve Etna residents as one of the trustees. I reluctantly took the leadership position in April of 2022 as the president because then the president, Mr. Evans, was failing and floundering at the job of not getting anything done, but rather fighting the previous board members and trying to prove false allegations. I spent 30+ hours a week here in this township hall working on business of the township until we hired our administrator, Ms. Hanson. My goal was to work as a full-time project manager consultant and hold a trustee position as well. In spite of the continuous lies, fabrication Mr. Evans has done on Facebook, and with their corruption, with him saying there's no corruption, fraud, or dishonesty in my leadership. Indeed, all the smears and social media insults from Mr. Evans are empty and are without merit. In a word, of worthless. The truth is that, unlike Mr. Evans, I am not a person driven by power, titles, or influence. I am driven by results and public service. I am glad to have taken the role as a president to get the business of the township done, instead of continuing to chase and fight false allegations. I would ask that Mr. Evans, other than fighting the office employees of the township and weaponizing everything against us, to please list all the business he has accomplished in the past 2 years as a trustee. We all know the answer. Not one time Mr. Evans has told me or the office staff good job, or even thanked us for the work of the community events that we have executed for our community. His only consistent actions have to criticize, disparage, condemn, and decry. His communication with me and my office and our office staff is always condemning, critical, and reviling. His favorite phrase has been proper and follow the law, used over and over again for communication. I hope Mr. Evans will work with the new board to get the business of the township done. People are now watching and paying attention to see the new board will work together, get the business of the township taken care of without constant incessant fighting. Thank you. Would we like to adjourn? Mr. Johnson, do you have any comments tonight?
No.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. So I would make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Marion?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. 9:55. Yes, ma'am.